In this video, I am going to go over a couple of builds that use the Navigator. If you like this video, then I would be extremely grateful if you were to like and subscribe. The first combination of the Navigator and Cenotaph Mask. The purpose of this build is to be purely support. You're going to be giving ammo constantly with Cenotaph Mask, and you can give pretty crazy survivability with Navigator and the constant supply of woven mail. To add to this, I went with a solar Dawnblade Well of Radiance build to provide as much support as possible. So first of all, just going over quickly the Cenotaph Mask. It will reload your trace rifles, and if you damage a champion boss with a trace rifle, it will mark them. If an ally delivers a final blow, you will get heavy ammo for the rest of the team. You do not get heavy ammo, but you will in fact actually get special ammo. And so that's why in this build I am actually using two trace rifles. You can switch out, of course, the trace to anything that fits your preference, but because you're going to be constantly getting special from the kills with Cenotaph Mask, you're going to be getting a lot of special regen. So doing two specials is going to be a lot more possible than you might think it would be. And because you're going to be running two specials, you're also going to be running a lot of heavy. You could probably do something other than Apex. This was just to have some damage, but you could go for something that has a little bit more ad clear. I was considering a fixed odds with incandescent, which would be pretty much just mowing things down constantly, never having to run out of any ammo of any type at all. So going now into a little bit more detail on the Navigator and how it works. So what it does is as you are firing at an ally, you get woven mail to both you and the target you are shooting at. So you will be constantly able to have woven mail. I'm going to also be providing a link to a video that was done by Commander Pika. He does an insanely good job of breaking down everything about the Navigator and how it works. One more quick note is that this will also do sever. So not only are you improving your damage resistance, you are decreasing the target's damage output. And finally, with the catalyst, you're going to be able to do a special reload to get a grapple tangle. Here you can see how the special reload and the grapple tangle firing works. So as I've discussed, we're going to be constantly giving ammo with Cenotaph. We're going to be increasing damage resistance and decreasing enemy damage output with Navigator. I figured let's kick this up to 100% support capacity and run a Solar Warlock Well of Radiance to be giving healing, Healing Rift, Healing Grenade, so constantly providing support to your allies. I went with Touch of Flame to improve the strength of the cure and restoration of your Healing Grenade. Secondary aspect, in my opinion, is optional. For the fragments, I went with Ember of Tempering to provide increased recovery to your allies, as I am going to be running dual solar weapons. I also went with Ember of Torches to provide radiant buff to your allies, giving even more buffs. Ember of Benevolence. Applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies increases your grenade melee class ability regen for a short duration, so helping you to be able to put out more of that grenade, more of that radiant buff with the melee as you are constantly recharging your own abilities. And finally, Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a fire sprite grants restoration. This build's not going to be really generating too many fire sprites, but what the point of this was, when you get that revive, sometimes you can get murked and you die, or the person you're trying to res dies before they can get out of cover. So trying to give a little bit extra survivability on reses there. Before going into the mods, I just wanted to take a quick second to say if anybody has comments on the fashion that I used here, please let me know if you have something that you think works better. I do not like the look of the Cenotaph mask. I love its functionality, but I would love any suggestions on how to make me feel a little less hideous while I'm using this. For my mods, I went to focus on resilience first, as this is going to be predominantly shining in things like Grandmasters, and in those you want to have as much resistance as you can. What I also did was I focused on generating as much orbs as possible through Strand Siphon for the Navigator and Harmonic Siphon for my solar weapons. And finally, I went with Powerful Friends, so that collecting an orb of power causes my nearby allies to increase their armor charges, so more support. For my arms, I used Focusing Strike to get more class ability energy. I went with Heavy-Handed to just get a little bit of extra orb generation in when possible, and back Induction so that causing my melee damage will increase the healing grenade recharge rate. For my chest, I went with Double Charged Up. Now, if you're going to be running this in a GM Nightfall, you're going to probably wanting, concussive, whatever threat is active. So you're going to want to swap these out clearly. But if you're able to survive in a content you're using this in, being able to carry the additional armor charges is going to allow you to throw out, extra healing grenades, as I'm going to be showing in the build. For legs, I went with Strand Scavenger, Recuperation, and Solar Scavenger. And finally, for the mark, I went with Benevolent Finisher to give orbs to allies on finishing an enemy, trying to run that support as much as possible. Powerful Attraction because I love being able to put down a rift and instantly heal to full when you pick up an orb. And Proximity Ward, so that when you're going in to get those overshields, you're not going to be as left open to be nuked with that overshield you're going to be getting with Proximity Ward from finishing. This is a build that using Navigator and Swarmers that I like to call Navigate the Swarm. What's really fun about this is that this season the Navigator has the ability to proc unraveling rounds on itself because you can get woven mail with it, obviously, but because of the seasonal artifact where you have unraveling rounds whenever you have woven mail from Strand Soldier in the fourth column, you're basically able to very consistently get unraveling rounds procced. And what's really fun about that too is that Swarmers will create threadlings when tangles are destroyed. So because unravel targets unravel into tangles, you're going to be creating threadling eggs all over the battlefield. All right, so let's go here, showing you first of all, already I've procced my unraveling rounds. So now let's discuss the build. Healing Rift and Threadling Grenade, pretty clearly want to be able to generate threadlings. Now you're going to see that I did in fact not use the Mindspun Invocation. The reason that I had here was that you get 2 extra threadlings with this. Now you can do that, or you can be getting a lot of extra tangles with Threadling Final Blows creating tangles, and an extra utility out of the tangles creating suspending. And as I was playing this, I figured, you get a lot more threadlings this way than you would by just the extra 2 by having to charge the grenade here. And of course, I went with Weaver's Call. Now, the reason for this was you're going to get your rift, so you're healing A, so that's already something above what you're going to get with those extra 2 threadlings off of the one Mind Spun, but it's also going to be on a shorter cooldown because it's your rift. So then what I chose was Strand, Weapon Final Blows, have a chance to create a threadling, Thread of Rebirth, Thread of Continuity, so that my unravel effects will be increased duration. Obviously, Thread of Evolution for increased threadling damage and traveling further. And finally, Thread of Transmutation, so that when I have Woven Mail, my Weapon Final Blows will create tangles. So basically what we're trying to do here is we're trying to unravel, create tangles, and create threadlings as often as possible. Now, I'm not 100% sure if there's a interaction here that I hadn't considered, but what I'm going to show you in a second is that when I create a tangle, when you read the descriptions, you should only be getting 1 threadling, but you see there are 2 threadlings. So I'm not sure if that has to do with the combination of the new aspect and Swarmers, or if Swarmers had always done that. But just a nice little every 15 seconds, because of your tangle cooldown, you're going to get extra threadlings, and because that's 15 seconds is going to be much faster cooldown than the other 2 threadlings you can get from your Mind Spun Invocation. That's why I went with that. For weapons, I decided to go with double trace rifles. The reason that I did this was Akashia's is really nice. Add clear. I think that incandescent works nicely with unraveling, spreading multiple debuffs, and because you're running double specials with heavy, you're going to be getting a lot more special heavy ammo as you're rotating the weapons you're using. And for my heavy, I went with Corax's Distress, the Strand rapid fire grenade launcher with chain reaction and hatchling, so that as we're generating all of this heavy by using double specials, you're going to be creating a lot of threadlings out of the hatchling perk from your grenade launcher. For the seasonal mod, the only things here that are really super necessary would be the authorized mods for Strand, Melee. I also went with improved unraveling, of course, to do more damage by unraveling. As I mentioned earlier, Strand Soldier is pretty crucial to getting unraveling rounds from all the woven mail you're going to be getting. And then after that, it's pretty much dealer's choice. I went with things that help benefit the Strand build that I'm in. For stats, I prioritized my recovery because you're getting threadlings out of your rift, so that's going to help you get more threadlings. You could go with maximizing your discipline and trying to get more threadlings that way, but because you're going to be getting healing out of this, I like to go with the rift instead. Gives you a little bit more utility, in my opinion. For mods, I went with hands-on to get a little bit of extra super on the melee kills, harmonic siphon to create orbs with all of the strand weapon damage you're going to be doing, and solar siphon to get more orbs off of Akashia's. You could sub that for whatever secondary weapon you want to use. For gloves, I went with heavy-handed, again, more orb generation, firepower, of course, because we're going to be using a lot of grenades, and bolstering detonation so that you can get more class ability and more threadlings as you're doing damage with your grenade. For my chest, I went with double charged up just to get more of the armor charges that will be helping us in this build. For boots, I went with recuperation to give me a little bit of survivability, absolution to reduce all cooldowns when picking up orbs, and you're going to be generating a lot with the siphons you're running here, and strand weapon surge to help me do additional damage with my heavy and the navigator. Finally, I went with Powerful Attraction as I like the extra bump up in healing that you can get from collecting orbs as you're using your Rift. It can really help clutch a survive when you're casting your Rift at low health and you don't think you're going to make it, but then suddenly you get a bump in health because of that instant health regeneration from the orb collection from Powerful Attraction. Time dilation for the strand surges to last longer, and Reaper because you're going to be using your class ability a lot, and that'll help you generate orbs. All right, so let's show some gameplay. Tangles, threadlings, unraveling everywhere. Now you could maybe sub some things to help you get some more unraveling with, say, powered melee kills generating unraveling. But I mean, as you can see right now, I'm getting quite a lot already. I don't think you really need it. And there, just got a weapon kill that created a threadling. And so you can see really not having much difficulty clearing ads because of all the threadlings, because of all the unraveling. You can get suspension if you need out of your tangles that you're creating, help you survive some more. And of course, because you're getting woven mail all the time, it's really not that difficult to survive with all the damage reduction you're going to be getting. See right there, I should have killed myself probably, but woven mail